righty. It is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I am Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. And today's show is sponsored by Cheshire Impact on a mission to help you maximize your use of marketing automation and CRM. Bam, CheshireImpact.com. Today's guest is, before I introduce who she is, she's really cool. Now, here's the question. How many times have you been at work, all you amazing listeners out there, half of which are my family, all you folks out there, how many times you've been at work and you run some tests? I don't care what field you're in, what industry, you run some tests or you run some report, and the results you get are ridiculous. They don't make sense. You're smarter than the results, and you're like, this is wrong. This is incorrect. The question is, what do you do in those situations? Do you carry on? Do you just ignore it? Somebody else's problem? Do you tell someone? But that doesn't actually fix it now, does it? My guest today had this happen around marketing reporting, which is the theme for today. And what did she do? She decided she was going to actually create an app that would fix the issue. So let me introduce Nicki Laycoax, a longtime marketer, a marketing consultant, and also now the founder of Oogur. And we'll talk about what that is, but it's an app to help you with dark traffic. Doesn't that sound dark? Dark traffic in Google Analytics. Nicki, how are you?
I'm good. You make me sound so great. Thank you.
You are great. You're the star. So welcome. And the theme we were chatting about earlier too, the theme around that maturity model for marketing automation. The theme is all about reporting and attribution, because we don't want people just to go build things. We want them to do it in the right order. And previously we had a theme of last month was all around understanding your buyer. This month is really around reporting and attribution, understanding what actions you're taking, understanding what lead sources you're doing actually work before you build, click, send, setting up reporting, have that reporting discipline. And so what better? I was out there on the Twitter sphere, and Nicki, you and I were just sort of tweeting back and forth, and I was like, this is beautiful. And then I saw you had an app as well. So, we could just chat marketing all day, but the fact that you went out and created this thing, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Are there any myths that you want to smash? Because we are a smashing show here. Hardcore marketing. Tell it like it is. What do you want to blow up?
Yeah. So great question. And by the way, I've been a longtime fan of Cheshire Impact. You guys
the love is all around.
You guys helped me with getting my Pardot consultant certification. You guys
Awesome.
have great content. So thank you for being you.
You're welcome. Wait, Chick-fil-A. What do they say? Chick-fil-A. They're like, oh, my pleasure.
Oh, I don't know. The only thing I know is eat more beef, right? Or eat more.
No,
it's eat more chicken.
Eat more chicken. And they spell it wrong. Yeah. But I digress. You're about to smash something. You're about to punch some myth in the face around reporting. What's the deal?
Well, just installing the tracking code from Google Analytics into your website is just not enough. Not only that, just taking the reporting that you see for face value is definitely not enough. I learned that I'm not as popular, or the brand that I was working for was not as popular as what I may think, or what Google Analytics may have made me think, because all of that direct traffic was not actually direct traffic. It was actually a result of other sources leading people to my website. So
it wasn't even real. It was like phantom traffic. Is this what dark traffic is?
No, dark traffic is that traffic that you're not able to actually see the sources. So
okay, so we'll get into that. But back to your myth, it's not enough just to put Google Analytics. By the way, if you're a marketer and you don't have Google Analytics, you'll get some. But if you're not a marketer, Google Analytics is, what is it? It's like the baseline reporting tool you need, right?
Yeah, it's free, so there's no reason not to have it. It's super easy to install. You just paste some code in your website, and it tells you who your users are. So
cool. But it's what's happening though? You just paste it on there, and you just see the face value. You're getting an inflated number.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. One of the issues that I saw with one of my customers, and this is actually a very common mistake that people don't account for, is not filtering out your internal traffic. So, Casey, you guys have a web developer on site and they're constantly making updates to the website, or you're a content marketer and you're writing blog posts all day and you're
Right.
on your website all day and you're sending the links out to your team to review. And so you've got all of these hits on your website. Well, once you filter out that IP address from your office, you're going to see a major shift in your traffic reporting.
It's funny. I was just thinking of me alone, listening to my own podcast over and over again, and or looking at my own website, hitting refresh over and over. Back in the days of the click counter, where you're like, oh, the little digit goes up by one, and you're just clicking it yourself to see it go up. But you brought up a great point. It's not just ourselves. Even the marketing team, the amount of updates or looks at a page we're going to do pales in comparison to developers, because they might even be using a tool that updates the thing and needs to load it, so it can load it like every 2 seconds. And that how inflated can the account get?
I mean, as long as they're with each new hit, and after they have been on a website for 30 minutes, I think that the count restarts. I'm not the actual scientist.
No, yeah, but I can't even imagine, like, you got developers hitting it, you've got your content writers, like you were saying, you got all these internal teams hitting your own resources, and like maybe you're like, oh, look at us, we're amazing, or you just had a content project that basically spiked your hits and you didn't clear out your own team from the reporting.
Right.
It's interesting.
Well, here's another example too. Yeah. Let's say that when you have maybe a check-in process or something at your place of business, and you've got your landing page up on a laptop or a tablet or something for people to sign in. That's going to be internal traffic as well that you could be filtering out. It's not actually people that are browsing your website.
Salesforce does that when you visit their offices. They have an iPad up and you fill it out and then it prints the badge. But that's a great point. If that's not filtered out, then that can be showing traffic. Hopefully we've got that figured out. But that's a great example where you just have a lot of visitors, but it's in increasing numbers. And I guess the bragging rights is one thing, but then you just want to know the accuracy. Oh, and I guess if you have too many coming in, your conversion rates look horrible because these fake people aren't converting, but they weren't going to convert ever.
Right.
Smashed. So what do you need to do? Okay, so I won't do that. I won't just put tracking code on my site, but I'm sure everyone's doing that. They're just dropping it on there, leaving it alone, and then they're getting these crazy numbers. So what do you got to do? You got to clear out the IPs. What's your hit list?
Well, you can you create a filter and a new property view within Google Analytics, so you can actually maintain all of that raw data, but then to actually see who your users are, you look at the different view. So that's one way. But the other thing that's so easy to implement is just using basic Google Analytics goals, setting up goals. So if you've got a contact form, even if it's just your contact form, maybe you've got your marketing team that they're creating a whole bunch of lead gen forms.
Sure.
Whatever. Set up, the Google Analytics goals to say, if somebody hits this page, we know that they've converted, that they filled out this form. And just a really simple way, if you're using a WordPress plugin or something, after somebody has filled out that form, send them to a thank you page. And that's really easy to set up and track that goal.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So that way you're not just looking at, some of that hogwash. That's like a 1920s term. I don't know what decade that's from. Someone should tweet me and tell me what decade that's from. But there's all these other data points that goals. I mean, that's action. That's conversions. That's things I guess it doesn't always have to be conversions too. You could set a goal for just getting to a page, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Indicate something else. Getting
to a page, how much time somebody has spent on your site, how many pages they have actually viewed. To measure, how interactive and engaging your site is.
Right.
If people have downloaded a PDF. There are a number of different ways that you can show that your marketing and your website are actually working for you.
Interesting. Are there stats you like to throw out? Any stats you want to smash? Sometimes like impressions. We've had some people that love impressions come on here, but sometimes the time on page, it gets kind of confusing. So unless you know what you're looking at, it could just mean they found what they found, or they left when any kind of stats you shy away from, or is it more holistic? You look at everything.
Yeah, I can't name anything just off the top of my head.
Sure. Yeah, this is like the make you think show. Yeah. Okay, you can ask me a tough question. I have no idea the answer either.
Okay, I'll try.
So what I am curious about is this, I was going to say dark matter, but that's a different show. This is not a physics show. Not yet, at least. I don't know. Maybe it turns into one, but dark traffic. Is dark traffic like dark matter of the internet? What is dark traffic?
Yeah, so dark traffic, just in a nutshell, is traffic that lands on your website that the source is unknown. There's a lot of it that shows up in your reports as direct traffic. So you think that people are typing in CheshireImpact.com. Well, most of the time, people aren't going to, unless they're already really aware of your brand.
No one does that, right?
Right. They're going to land on your site from organic search, or they liked you on Twitter, or they listened to the Hardcore Marketing Podcast.
I am.
But then also, drilling down into your campaign reports, Google gives you the ability to see, which channels are performing best. Is it direct traffic? Is it organic traffic? Is it social, email, referrals? Those are just some of the default out of the box channel groupings that you can look at. But when you look at direct traffic, it's just dark. It's unknown. There's no way to know. So
it's so cool we're talking about this, because I think it really rounds out this whole theme about first touch, the source. Where did you find this? But what channel brought them to you? And to your point, and anyone that doesn't know, direct traffic is what? Someone typing it in the browser?
Yep.
Well, so they say it's supposed to be that, but then it sounds like this dark traffic is Google Analytics being like, well, I don't really know where it came from, so I'm going to just lop it into that, which definitely can drive you crazy. And you can't attribute. Maybe you spent some money on some campaign. You want to be able to give it credit so you can go do more of it. So, what is there a way to figure that out? Is this the challenge you bumped into?
It is
to make your app. Like, what was the whole situation? How did that go down?
Right. So, I'm a member of a marketing community here in Indianapolis.
Cool.
And
what's it called?
It's Torchlight Marketing.
Okay.
So they have a set of, or a pool of freelance marketers, and there's a lot of really bright people that are included in this. They've got a Slack group that, will share tips and whatever.
Sweet.
But somebody had mentioned the Google campaign URL builder in the feed, and I didn't know what it was at the time. This is, I don't know, like maybe 8-9 months ago, something like that.
Sure.
And so I started looking at it, and it gives you the way to, whenever you create a blog post, you can tag it with what are called UTM tags. So you can say specifically what source you're going to be sharing this content on. So CheshireImpact.com/blog. The source is Facebook. The medium we know is social media. So you can tag it as social media. If it's a part of just a campaign that you're launching, let's say Hardcore Marketing Podcast, you can name that as your campaign. So you've got these different fields in the URL builder that you can really allow yourself to drill down into your analytics reports to see what exactly is working and what is driving that traffic.
Got it. And the idea is, if you tag the link that you're creating, when someone clicks on it, Google then picks up on those extra words, right? And they're able to. Yeah, so this is cool. When you can control the link, you can add so many extra details into it.
Exactly.
This could be anything too. It could be a paid ad. It could be off your Twitter profile. It could be
anything, right? Social ads. Let's say that you blog about Oogur, and I want to give you a link that your readers can link back to my website. Well, I want to know that Casey sent that over.
Right.
So, there's all different ways that you can tag and monitor and measure.
Absolutely. And when I tell people Oogur is OOGER, right? Is that it?
You are.
Oh, you are
Yeah, like for
OOGUR
URL.
dot
Yeah,
com, and you type that in right now, that'll be direct traffic, right?
exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
But if they click on it from your website and we've got it tagged appropriately,
Right.
we'll know that it came directly from you.
Right. So okay, so this is like wizard level. This is wizard level use of Google Analytics. And what situation happened? Because you had did you have dark traffic happening? What was the situation that got you frustrated?
Well, so it wasn't necessarily the dark traffic because
Okay.
using the URL builder helped to start to fix my dark traffic issue. But
Okay.
what it was I was looking at my campaign reports, especially after I started using Google's Data Studio, which is amazing. But I started to see that because I wasn't keeping up like a running spreadsheet or tally of each of the different parameters that I was using,
Yeah.
my reporting was off. So I for one URL I used Facebook all lowercase letters, and then
Oh no.
for a different one I used capital F for the Facebook, and then so I had several different line items in my
Is it
report.
case sensitive?
It is case sensitive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, learning that, I was like, okay, so there's got to be a better way because this is a pain in the ass to go to this website to build the URLs. And then I'm messing everything up because I'm not keeping track of everything. I don't like doing things in spreadsheets, which is why Salesforce is here because, spreadsheets are just
Exactly.
bad to manage things.
Exactly.
So I started to look for a solution to help, with managing everything, and I didn't
Hmm.
find anything at the time. So yeah, so that's why I started down this Oogur route.
Okay. So how would you describe the app in a nutshell? Like what's your
Um,
elevator story if you were to say
yeah.
one?
So I'm working on this, the
Hmm.
whole elevator pitch. My give me Oogur in 30 seconds, and
Yeah.
so
Or like 2 sentences.
yeah. So it helps marketers with demonstrating ROI easily. But it's a
I like that.
thanks. It's URL building and
Yep.
tagging and management and shortening in one.
Boom.
Yeah,
I like that.
thanks.
Look at you say, "Oh, I need help with my elevator pitch." You just totally friggin' nail it. I'm like, sign me up. Managing my tags, shortening. You said one other thing? Shortening, managing tags.
Building, shortening,
Building,
managing.
shortening, managing.
Yeah, yeah.
Sweet. And so in Oogur, you're able to keep them separate. You're able to remember Facebook's a capital F, at least that's how we're
Yeah,
doing
because
it.
once you put something in, you just click and select it from what you've already used. So
Right.
it's retaining everything. It's super super simple.
That's cool. And now, is this available now, or is this
Yeah,
in build mode, or
yeah,
so?
it's
Okay.
available now. It's the website's not the prettiest,
Sure.
however,
First
however,
version, right?
right? Yeah, it works, and yeah, it's Oogur.com, oogur.com.
OOGUR. And we'll put it in the show notes too,
Okay,
.com. So that's cool. I mean, how much does something like this cost in terms of like pricing?
super cheap.
Super cheap?
Yeah, so $12 a month or 129 a year.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Totally. So that's cool. I'm excited. We're going to definitely link to this. Now, I was reading a little bit. You actually had to write up requirements for this, right? So you don't just go to a developer and say, "Build me my thing." They want documentation from you. What do they want?
Yeah. Well, so I have a experience in project management.
Oh,
I've
okay.
managed a lot of different web projects, and so really thinking out exactly how I want the application to flow.
Hmm.
From start to finish. What am I trying to accomplish? And what technology do I want it to be using? So I had to write up a set of requirements that would relay my marketing speak to a developer. And fortunately, I was
Right.
able to find somebody so I'm not the most technical person,
Sure.
but I was able to find somebody that understood what I was saying and asked great questions. And so, yeah, we make a good team.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you've done project management. Was there a learning curve to understand what an app requirements doc looks like? Or have you just done that before in the past, or you'd seen one, or you got a template? How'd you go from one to the other?
Actually, so I did a lot of things kind of picture based because for me,
Yeah.
I used a tool that I've got on my Mac to kind of explain the layout and explain the click tracking. Just in the best way that I could. But then he is also really great about. So Google has excellent documentation on their API, and so he was very proactive in going out and doing his own research and learning what was possible. And so it's really helpful because not being a super technical person and probably not the best requirements writer.
Right.
I got the job done. That's all.
I mean, I don't know if that's even a bragging right. Someone in Google, that's all they do all day long. But there's probably more fun things to do in marketing than. But you had to do it, and it sounds like a partnership more than just a, build this thing. Here's a doc. It was like a two-way conversation.
Yeah, it was.
That's cool. That's cool. How long did it take to get it created?
So the first release came to me the middle of December, so just a little over 2 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So it took us about 2 to 3 weeks before I was able to see round one of the beta version. So yeah, it's been really, really fast. Everything is it's such a blur.
Yeah. So did you get bit by the bug? Are you going to be creating apps left and right?
Yeah. So I created an LLC to put this application under.
Sure.
And campaign tracker. So, there are holes in several different applications that I use as a marketer. And so I hope that, Oogur is just the very beginning of a series of tools, or maybe just a larger application that will just make a marketer's dream come true.
Yeah, that's cool. Like we were saying in the introduction, we bump into these problems all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's liberating to think that you can write up some requirements and start having something built to change that. You don't have to just keep sitting around with the same old results.
Right. And it's, I don't think that you have to have a project management background or have managed projects or written requirements before. I really think that it's just kind of mapping your brain out, putting it on paper, and then finding somebody that's, willing to listen to you and help you with getting the technical version of what you're saying out. And there's a ton of resources. Like here in Indianapolis, we have it's called Developer Town and Developer Town Starts. And so
Nice.
they can be that technical partner for you. So there are a number of different accelerators in that I'm learning about. So if somebody does have an idea and they want to have something developed, there are so many options and things available to you.
Right. Is that where you met your developer, the one you were working with, or how'd you find each other?
There's a website. It's freelancer.com.
Okay. Yeah. A site like that. You just went to it and filled out a request saying, I want to build a web app. And wow. Did you go through several different, talking to different people and
I did.
sending that out? Any tips on that process? Looking back at it, you found the right one. You could have went with the wrong one, and then,
definitely.
Experience.
What I did talk to several different developers, and I asked them, first of all, are you familiar with Google Analytics and just anything Google or marketing related? And if they weren't, I didn't really want to waste a whole lot of time, spending my time spinning my wheels trying to explain things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, just once I had everything written out and I shared it, I asked them to regurgitate and repeat back to me what they think that I'm asking.
Oh, that's really okay. And
So
how did that work? It's like the telephone game, but with one person, right?
yeah, yep. Yeah, with several people. And then I ended up finding this one and I liked his confidence. His ratings were really great. So that's why I ended up going with the one that I did.
Awesome. That's
Yep.
really cool. I did an app myself, maybe 8 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and did a similar process. I didn't choose wisely. I think you vetted the people properly. And I think if I was going to do it again, I would add that in there. And they built the MVP. They call it an MVP, minimum viable product.
Mm-hmm.
And they built it, and it worked until a friend of mine looked at it and went, "Hey, man, your entire database is exposed in the HTML code." So I detailed everything I wanted. This can be the problem with when you farm something overseas.
Mm-hmm.
You need to say exactly every single detail you want, and if you don't put it on there, and I neglected to say, please make this database secure so that people can't just see the passcode in the source when they hit view source. I didn't say
Yeah.
that, so it was completely exposed. So
Yeesh.
it was one of those like, oh, I see. I have to really say everything.
Well, so my boyfriend is a developer. Actually, the shirt that I'm wearing
Oh yeah,
is the one of the T-shirts from it's a startup that he works for. It's Costello. It's a deal management platform.
cool. It says
But
close the deal. I like that.
the deal, yeah.
Bam, mic drop. Close the deal.
So I'm exposed to all of this technology talk anyway. And, I know that like these buzzwords just kind of stood out to me. So React with JavaScript and AWS for hosting. And so, I
Wow.
started to do a little bit of my own research.
Sure.
So we use AWS and
You do? Okay.
yeah,
And
because I wanted
that's what Amazon Web Services, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wanted to be able to scale because I just had a feeling that this might be good.
Yeah.
And another thing, this has kind of turned into a talk about Oogur versus reporting. So I hope that.
Well, no, we'll get back to reporting. This is just really interesting. You sort of braved this pathway and you braved this thing, and now you have this app. Now with Amazon, you can just click a button and it scales up to another server, right? You can just add resources and.
It's to my knowledge, it's based on use. It handles it the way that he's got it set up. It's going to handle it without my intervention.
Sweet.
But we also the database that we use is called MongoDB, and so recently also Oogur was hunted on Product Hunt. And on the same day, MongoDB announced their startup accelerator, and so we got accepted into that startup accelerator. So,
oh wow,
yeah,
congrats,
yeah. Thanks. But then using the Node as one of the latest technologies.
Man, you're a dev now. It's
I know.
too late. You've gone down this path. See what happens, everyone. You start out in marketing, you dip your toe in project management. It's a slow, steady process, and before you know it, you're going to be coding C# and building your own iPhone app. It's going to happen.
And
calling
dating a
it
developer, right?
right. And yep. It's over. It's over. You're going to start making semicolon computer science jokes pretty soon if you haven't already.
I don't have any of those, so I guess I'm not a full-fledged developer yet.
Not yet. It'll happen though. It's already happening. Node, Mongo, AWS. People
These are
listen
the
going,
buzzwords.
is this hardcore dev show? But you're right. Reporting. So you work with some clients yourself while doing this, and you've been doing marketing for a long time. What have you seen? What kind of mistakes are you seeing people make, or the wins that they're making around reporting?
Well, so mistakes, I touched on the not having goals set up, not filtering out traffic, not just another simple thing that people can do that I don't see everyone doing or hear of everyone doing is just using annotations in Google Analytics. So you send out your monthly email newsletter, or you sponsor an event and you see a spike in your traffic. Well, if you don't annotate that in analytics, it's a mystery. Why
That's a
am I
good
getting
point.
this traffic? Even if you
You
have
just click, right? You click like the
yeah,
spot on the line and you say, our biggest trade show of the year happened here. So when people
exactly.
look back at the chart, that makes a lot. You know what? Do it when it happens, right? Because if you wait, good luck filling in what happened. Go
Exactly.
look at your
And
calendar.
you can go back through your calendar and be retroactive, but
Sure. But you'd be retro at that point. Hey, we were chatting earlier. I think you had a really good way of describing attribution for people.
mm-hmm.
And I think it was you saw a video.
Yeah, so I don't claim to be an expert in attribution or, any of the technical terms that go along with Google Analytics, but
By the way, for people listening, anyone that really knows what they're talking about always says that. And the people that have no idea what they're saying, they never, ever say that. So, I mean, you'll hear Elon Musk say, I'm not an expert on rockets, but I've built a few in my time. So anyway, keep going. Go ahead. You're not an expert. Sure, Nikki. Just built an app on Mongo, Amazon Web Services, but that's okay. Keep going. Attribution.
So you were asking me, my thoughts on attribution and first touch and last touch, and so there are a number of different attribution models within Google Analytics that you can look at. So, in trying to, I'm a visual learner.
Sure.
And I like to have, real life experiences relate to what I'm trying to understand. And so in this webinar that I was watching the other day about attribution, the gentleman referred to attribution with regard to a soccer game.
Okay.
And I don't know a whole lot about soccer, but I played a little bit of volleyball in my time. And I'm relating it to volleyball. So
sure.
The first touch attribution to me is like the server who serves and they ace the serve, they score on that serve, right?
Okay. Yep.
And so you're attributing that point to that server, which there's no question about
right.
that's who scored.
You did it scored. Congratulations.
Exactly. Yep. And then last touch attribution to me is the spiker. So you've got your bump set spike, and you're just going to relate.
Slow down on me. What's a bump set? This is good. We're learning. We learned Mongo already. Now we're learning volleyball. This is good.
So bumping is you've got your person in the back row who bumps. They've got their hands together. They bump the ball up or they pass.
Okay.
And then you've got your setter who sets the ball up for the spiker.
Okay, so you don't spike it off the bump; you spike it off the set.
Right. So the goal with volleyball, what you shoot for typically is 3 hits. So you've got your bump, your first hit after the serve. So envision your net. You've got your server over here on the opposite team. They serve. Your person in your back row bumps it up to the middle hitter, which is the setter. And then if that set is perfect, the perfect height, the perfect position on the net, the spiker then can just slam that ball and you hope that the other team doesn't return it. So you can, with a last touch attribution model, you're attributing that point to just the spiker.
Right.
I don't think that that's accurate. I don't like that model.
Right.
So there's
why is that? Why don't you like it?
Because with marketing and with sales, it really takes teamwork. It takes, you've got these different stages. The person has more than likely become aware of your brand. So you're thinking about your funnel. They've become aware of your brand through maybe advertising or word of mouth, or some way they become aware of your brand. And then they're becoming educated on who you are. So they kind of know, what you offer. And then somehow they're getting to the point that they read some of your, maybe a social media post or maybe a blog post or just something else that you're building credibility. You're establishing a relationship. Well, now they're interested in your company and your service or your product, and they're visiting your pricing or your features page. They're interested still, and then they get a demo, and you've got your sales team typically involved in that, or a sales engineer or something like that, and then they get a quote, or they understand more about the product, and then finally that deal is closed. So unless you know for sure that you went to the store and you don't have to hear anything about this product, there's nothing else that has led up to that purchase. It's hard to say that last touch or first touch is actually accurate, because there are so many different things I think in play, and I could be wrong.
This is really cool. First of all, I'm learning volleyball more so than gym class. Gym class heroes, I think, is a band, right? But anyways, I remember doing the two hands together, and that's the bumper. That's bumping. Okay. And then I remember that. It's interesting. First touch makes sense. We served it. It worked. But when you get back to returning it, you're planning on having 3 touches. And B2B, we're planning on at least 3.
At least.
3 months sometimes or 15 months. So knowing that there's going to be multiple touches, I could see how it'd just be so grossly inaccurate to say the server, oh no, not the server, the spiker, as flashy as that person is, running up there and slamming that ball down. And for everyone not watching this, we're like we're Italians playing volleyball. But I can see it would make no sense to give credit to the spiker, because you can't, correct me if I'm wrong, you can't spike a ball that comes flying over at you, right? Well, if it's weak, but the whole point of the bumper, block it.
Yeah.
But more than likely, you want to set up that nice three set or whatever you'd call it, so that you can really get it all set up to really spike it and do it the right way. So it would make no sense to give them credit. You can't do that on your own. You got to have everyone else involved.
Yep.
That's a cool metaphor. How it actually, that kind of ties in even better than soccer, because I think in soccer, or even watching hockey, or it bounces around a lot, and it may take 6 months for someone to score. Whereas with volleyball, it's that constant process, and expecting it's more of like there's a stage to it, and then it converts.
Yep. And I can't remember the exact, so linear model is attribution, and then there's time decay. So the time decay, I think this is the one where there's more weight given to the first touch and the last touch, but then there's weight also given to the touches in the middle.
Right.
So yeah, I think that it's maybe short-sighted, just in my opinion, to just look at first touch or just look at last touch.
Right.
Because realistically,
especially in a complex environment, and I agree with a lot of what you're saying here, because the theme for this month is around first touch, or if you want to think of more of like your source reporting, because it can be the easiest to set up in like Pardot or one of these tools. It's so low hanging fruit that you need to get it done. And then to your point, there's more context available if you start setting it up. Tag, Google Analytics, all these other places, you got to go do that. But for sure, we have this as the first one, because so many people we encounter, and you've probably seen this too, they don't even have that first touch set up. And so they can get distracted by who's spiking the ball, who's this, who's that. And it's like, you don't even know who served. Come on. That's so easy. Pardot will do that automatically for you if you prepare it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And, just kind of going further down that, that rabbit hole, if you aren't telling Google accurately what it is, how these people are getting to your site, your attribution modeling and reporting in analytics is going to be off, because you can't know what was the first touch or what was the last touch if you're not telling it, the appropriate things.
I like that. I think that's another myth you're smashing here, which is it's easy, but it's not automatic.
Right.
Yep.
Yes.
These tools are there. Now, Google wasn't as easy. Thankfully, now we've got Oogur to help out with that. But with Pardot, most marketing automation platforms, you set this thing up, but you got to set it up. And that's what we've been seeing people miss is they're not. And I think someone else earlier, it might have been Jim, he was saying there's a discipline. There's like a measurement discipline. You have to have the discipline to build into your process the fact that if I'm going to have a campaign, if I'm going to get a new lead source, I know that I need to go in Oogur or go set up the tagging. I need to make sure I set up the campaign, do a little bit of that pre-work so I can actually get the tracking out the back end. You gotta make that effort.
Yeah. And it's not even just about, tracking this and tracking that. It's when you go to ask for more marketing budget or to, say that what I'm doing is working, taking those extra steps in the beginning helps to support what you're saying and what you're asking for.
Yeah. It's hard to people do it. Hey, give me more money. What'd you do with the money I already gave you?
Yep.
We got 300,000 impressions. Hey. Okay, cool. Can I feed my children impressions? Can I pay my IRS tax bill with impressions? No, you can't do anything with these impressions.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Huh. So it's easy but not automatic. Take the time to set those things up.
Yep.
Give yourself the context for that. That's cool. That's really cool.
Easy.
We were chatting too, and I don't know if I think you might have do you have a trade show thing? Because I was telling my thing. I know people will get triggered if I tell the story one more time, but it was that trade show where there's the 80 people, and you know what? Repetition is the mother of skill, people. So if I tell this story again, just go with it. But anyway, it was a trade show. There's 80 trade shows this company was doing, and they didn't track any of them. They didn't do this pre-work we were talking about. It was easy, but they didn't set it up. It wasn't automatic. It didn't happen. So they didn't know which of the 80. And then we got involved with them, helped them do some of the simple tracking and set these things up to be able to see, oh, actually about what's the number? 30 of these trade shows were effective and the other 50 weren't. They were just spending money on, oh God, those are so expensive too, on these bullshit trade shows that weren't getting them any money. So
yeah. Well, so my story is I know a company.
Right? You're like, how much do I want to out these people? Well, it's good. You leave them anonymous for now, and if you really burn them, then you just leave them anonymous. But if it's weak, we'll have to name them later. But yeah, go ahead.
All right. So I know a company who spend like $250,000 on advertising, primarily in print. And they have no print.
Ugh, gross. People, what year is this?
I know.
Nikki, is this 1995? Did I invite you here on an AOL email address? What?
You know what? I just met the founder of AIM the other day.
Really?
He moved just a couple miles up the road from me.
AOL Instant Messenger?
Yeah.
And he founded that.
Yeah.
Did it get bought by AOL? Is that why it was called?
So founder, inventor, are those terms able to be used interchangeably?
Yeah, probably. So he created it.
An AOL employee. And then I think he and his team created it.
What do? You created AIM. Now the rest of your life is just downhill at that point. You helped so many teens connect with each other.
Yes.
Now it's
they
Facebook.
Actually, I think that they just deprecated it. It's no longer.
They got rid of it. Yeah, they did. I got an email saying, "Hey, your old screen name, which shall not be named, you need at least a couple beers for that old screen name to come out," because I did not pick it. My dad was like, "Yeah, you're a cool guy. Yeah, let's make this screen name." And I was like, "Yeah, why not? It can't be that important. This screen name on AOL. What does that even mean?" It wasn't too bad, but
yeah. But anyway, so the company that I am referring to, they spend like $250,000 in advertising and print. Yeah. They do a lot of trade shows as well. And when I started looking at their analytics, one of the first things that I did was, so they have no customers in the city that they actually are based in. And I noticed that the majority of their traffic was coming from the city that they're based in.
Oh no.
So that's, the
Yeah.
filtering where that came from.
What was it that? I mean, was it?
No, it wasn't just
their
that.
employees?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was their sales team using, they had a PDF that they were sending out, and I guess maybe they were reading it before they sent it. I don't know what they were doing, but there was a lot of traffic that was filtered out after I filtered that city, or it was the IP address actually.
You murdered that traffic. You cut it down by like 90%, and they were all sad afterward.
Yeah. But then, so I noticed that in the reports, it's like I don't know, half of their traffic for the day comes at lunchtime. And I can only guess because their analytics doesn't tell me anything because they're not doing a whole lot, web-based. I'm guessing that they have a website or a magazine or some other print publication that they're advertising in, that's sitting in the break room of some place that they do business. And but because they're not doing anything to tell their analytics who these people are, or what publication they're reading, there's no way to know if what they're spending is actually working. So so that's my trade show and I guess analytics mistake
saga. Yeah. I guess I get spoiled when I do so much digital marketing that I forget that some channels still do print. A lot of people still do print. Mm-hmm. And it's got to be effective for some industries somewhere, somehow. Not a lot of them, but some of the older ones. And it may not be nearly as effective as the digital, but that's what they know, Mm-hmm. It's the devil they know.
Yep.
And not being tracked. But how interesting to make that comparison. It's probably in some break room somewhere, or maybe a doctor's office. Like, I don't know.
It could be. I'm just not sure. But just a really simple way to know is having a different URL for that ad. And I don't know that people would be using QR codes. Do you use QR codes?
No, do you?
Yeah, I used to, but my phone, I don't know if you can see it or not, my camera just spontaneously, the lens just shattered.
Whoa.
So the only thing I can do is take selfies now.
Now, this wasn't in some rage fest where you like threw your phone across the room? Samsung just...
It's actually a thing.
Crapped out?
If you go and you do a search for a Samsung Galaxy S7 camera screen shattering, it's a thing. Like there's a class action lawsuit.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, good. It shouldn't just blow up randomly. At least the glass shouldn't.
That was
so you have an S7. So anyone out there, you're shopping for phones, you might want to wait on that one. Come back to iPhone land and join me and your family who misses you in the iPhone land. But or just wait for, is there an 8? Is there? I don't even know anything about Samsung.
I think there may actually be the 9.
Oh, okay.
I'm a little behind.
A little behind.
But, when you sign up for your phone, you get into this plan, and we're doing the thing where you pay monthly and you're leasing your phone.
Basically, yeah.
Now I have to pay, it's like a couple $100 to pay out my contract. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to use my camera. I use selfie mode. So if I ever take any pictures of words, it's all backward. But so I'll use that in selfie mode, or I'll use my actual camera, or I've got an iPad now, then I can use that. But.
Right. And now when you just go crazy on the selfies, you have a reason. You're like, look, guys, I'm in every photo because I can only take selfies. Like my phone.
No, I don't take a whole lot of selfies. I'm definitely not the selfie queen. But I've gotten, so my boyfriend also, we have the same phone. And he handed me his. We were in Colorado, and I was wanting to take some pictures at the top of Pikes Peak.
Oh, cool.
And he hands me his phone, and I just, by default, because my phone has been like this so long, I started to take pictures in selfie mode like this.
You've been trained. The habit. You get the new camera, you don't want to do with it.
I I forget. Well, how did we get to that?
Well, don't worry about it. We're just going to keep going. My camera broke too, and I have a rant to share. My phone's over there, but I'm going to go get it. 1 second.
Okay.
People are like, what is Casey doing? So this is a great segue into my iPhone rant. So I know that Steve Jobs is not there anymore. And one of the reasons I know is because the camera is not like flat. It's not flush with the phone. You can't really see it. I'm trying to hold it to the monitor and look like an idiot. But yeah, I'm a late adopter too with phones. I like to let everyone else beta test for me. So go get the 10. Cool. And then let me know how it goes. I'll get it once you work out all the bugs and stops blowing up in your pocket and all that stuff. I'll get it afterward, and I'll really enjoy it. So for the longest time, I've had a 5 until recently, a 5, and they're on 10 now. So I'm really behind, but it worked, and it was great. And I never used a case on it because I'd always tell people, like, no case, you're so dangerous. And I was like, no. If it needed to have a case on it, then Steve Jobs would have like created it on there. Like if it needed one, he would have made one. And segue, the movie Contact. Do you remember that with Jodie Foster? Do you ever see that?
Mm-mm.
Long story short, aliens send plans for an interdimensional wormhole traveling device. Jodie Foster gets in and she goes off to another planet. And it's this sphere. And so she's supposed to just get in there. Nowhere in that sphere is there a chair, but silly humans are like, this is totally going to spoil the movie for you if you haven't seen it. Anyways, she's like in this chair, and the humans are like, oh, let's build a chair for the human. Even though these aliens who are way smarter than us didn't put one in there. They're not dumb. They put a picture of her inside the... Anyways, she's in this chair, and she drops something, and it floats away. She gets out of her chair momentarily while she's in a wormhole or something to get this thing. Meanwhile, the chair... it gets crushed against the side of the wall. If she had stayed in the chair, she would have died. It's like if the aliens wanted a chair to be in this circle, they would have built one or designed it that way. If Steve Jobs wanted a case to be on the iPhone, he would have made it part of the iPhone, right? So
I don't know, Casey.
That's my thing. Anyways, I dropped my iPhone 5 so many times over multiple years. You're not buying it, but I dropped it so many times. Nothing ever broke.
Really?
I dinged the sides. All sorts of goofiness. Nothing ever broke. I got this thing, which is an 8, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, my typing is all... I'm an idiot now. I'm like a 4-year-old because the keyboard is just a little bit wider.
Yeah.
And now everything I hit is the wrong one. But I dropped it once at Dreamforce last year. I just got it. And someone... I had like this, and someone goes, whack. I don't know if anyone's ever had that happen. They just move their arm, and it just flies out of my hand and hits the pavement, San Francisco pavement, and it smashed the camera lens in half just like that.
Wow.
Brand new iPhone, the least, I'm indebted to them forever.
Yeah.
And it smashed just like that, cracked right in half. So anytime I took a photo, it made like a weird lighting effect. It was horrible. And so I got it repaired because it's not Apple's fault. It's my fault, but it's their fault because I think it cracked because it's the camera lens came out beyond the iPhone. On the 5, it was flush. So if you dropped it, it hit the phone. Yeah. But because it comes out, it hits the camera instead of the lens instead of the phone. Anyways.
Should have kept that 5. Do you still have it?
I do. That'd be really weird. Who's that? Oh, that's Casey. Yeah, he's on 5. We're on 20 now. Yeah, I know. Late adopter. But you know what? They keep bumping the app sizes up. That it's like if you still had that. Have you ever picked up an Apple, like the iPhone 1? You're like, what is this?
No.
Weird device. I had one, and it was like awesome. It was awesome. But having seen all these other ones, you're like, oh, okay.
Well, my first smartphone was the iPhone 3, and I still have it. And then I do have a 4 still, and so I haven't traded that in. And then at one time, I got a BlackBerry. I forget which one it was, but that was awful. I hated it. I got it as part of a a promotion. People wanted me to blog about it and tweet about it and stuff. And I hated it. It was free and I hated it.
Did you blog how much you liked it though?
I did. Well, I
Did you
mean,
feel dirty afterward? Like, oh, I got this free phone and I actually really don't want to use it ever again.
At the time though, like it was okay. Because I was still new to
New and exciting. Yeah.
phones and stuff. And so you could play games on it. So it was kind of like Candy Crush. So that was cool. But just going back and forth. I had calluses on my thumbs from texting because the buttons were, actual buttons and not touch screen. But you mentioned the typing that you do on your new iPhone. I go back and forth between my Samsung and my iPad, and it's just so obviously.
Oh wow, the difference between those platforms too. Interesting.
Yeah. iPhone to iPad to Samsung, like I don't know, it's weird. I think that they want to keep you either iPhone or Samsung, and you get used to one of them, and then if you try to switch to iPhone, you're like, I hate this phone because I can't type. And yeah, I think it's a thing.
It must be a thing. Just like my beveled camera is a thing.
Exactly.
One day Apple will pick up this podcast and they'll go, you know what? He's right. We need to go back to flush cameras.
So when you tweet about the podcast, you need to mention them.
Mention Apple. Okay. Yeah. We'll do that. See what happens. Should we tag Samsung too? So they get a new phone?
Yes, I think so.
You hear that, Samsung? We need a new phone here.
Yep.
All right, good. S8, if you would, please, because we know that S7 has issues.
Yeah, it does.
So who are you? How did you get into all this? The background, where did this all start? You just mentioned project management background, marketing.
Yep. I was working for the state of Indiana doing unemployment adjudication.
Man.
Yeah. So
a thankless job.
Yeah. If you got fired or you quit your job or you got laid off, you file an unemployment claim, and then those come into what I was doing. And so, based on Indiana unemployment law, I had to decide whether or not you were qualified. So
Did you have people like try to scam you?
Yeah, there were a lot of weird stories. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
No, that's fine. I'm sure that'd be a different show. That'd be hardcore state agency.
Yeah, there were definitely some teachers that were trying to get unemployment on summer break, which wasn't qualified.
Oh no.
There were definitely some people that got fired for having sex at work, and that was against the rules, so they didn't get qualified.
Right.
Yeah.
But they still applied for it anyways.
They did. Yeah. I mean, not to try means no, right? So.
Oh man.
So anyway, I was working.
Now, how did you find out about that though? Did they apply for it, and then the company's like, "No way, Jose"?
So they apply and they have to tell their story of, what happened. And then you go back and you inform the employer that they have filed. And then the employer comes back and says, they violated a policy or, whatever. So there's the whole back and forth. And then there's, there are Indiana laws and there are employer laws. And this is like 12 years ago. So memory is pretty foggy.
Yeah. But were they like, yeah, the person was like, I'm an outstanding employee. And they're like, yeah, we had to steam clean our stairwell. Like,
we cut your pay.
Did the company like report that? Like, by the way, this person violated the do not have sex at work policy.
Yeah. So, what they'll do is they'll submit a copy of the policies. And if in fact they did violate a policy, then they're not qualified.
Highlight that one. That's so awkward. That would have to go up on some like bulletin board of the crazy stories you would see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man. Okay. So you're doing that, and clearly you were fulfilled completely.
Absolutely. Pay was wonderful.
Yes.
So my boyfriend, I mentioned that he's a developer. Yep. He was also working, not for the state, but at the state at the time. He was a contractor for a staffing agency. And we would go to lunch every day together. And there were a few other people that went too, and we would play cards. We like to play euchre. And so when we were having lunch, I would hear him talking about, his, the client meetings that he was going to have and about the web projects that he was working on. And
right.
so I became really intrigued by that. And it turned out he needed somebody to help him with customer relationship management and marketing and that. And so I quit my job and I started working with him.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How does that work out? Because if you're in a relationship, but you're also working together, I know sometimes people that works, sometimes people that doesn't work. So,
well, we're still together.
Hey, congrats.
Yeah, during the time that we were working together, it was 2007, I think, that I left my job. And then like during that whole 2008, 2000 to 2011-ish time, it was such a horrible, horrible time to be in business. And, being a small fish, we ended up losing quite a bit. Our customers were going out of business, and customers were super, super late to pay us. And so
it's the worst.
Everything fell apart, but we managed to make it. So as far as our relationship goes, but so that's where I got my start in technology. And I started exploring. That was about the time that, social networking and social media came out, and used it to connect with people and help to, establish the brand that I was pushing, and started getting into some consulting for my customers to help them with social media. And so that's the genesis of my marketing and web background.
Right. That's cool. You've really been playing with both the tech and the customer side and the marketing side. I can see how that all kind of gets mushed together. And then you can create cool things like apps. I always love the combinations. People we've talked to on here, one person had a financial background, then got into marketing and sales, and like accountant, CFO level. And so reporting was, you were able to actually say stats and say things like ROI, whereas a CFO, if he has ROI, he's like, is that on net profit or gross? So they were able to actually have some conversations, but it's always those combinations that really make things interesting. It's those combinations.
Everything I've experienced, it just really helps to contribute to any successes that I've had. So, I've worked for a number of different companies and sectors, and it's so nice and refreshing. Of course, my brain is just this. There's so much dark data in my head that I don't realize that I have until I'm talking to somebody that, I had lunch or coffee with a guy yesterday, and he's talking about an application that he's working on, and it's going to help with disaster relief and preparedness. Cool. And one of the positions that I had was business development for a startup ambulance company, and so I've got a ton of 911 emergency type contacts that I can absolutely help them with. And so it's everywhere you are, everything that you've experienced really helps to form who you are as a person and what you can contribute. So
for sure,
I like the experiences that I've had.
I think people in the old days that was like not a good thing. That was, you're jumping around, or you were spread out in your focuses. But to your point, it's those experiences that we can draw from later that might make us valuable as a network, but also some experiences we can take with us,
right.
That's really interesting how those things play out. So you love to travel, and before we run out of time, I wanted to ask, because when we talk travel, and by the way, I just flew in from Toronto this morning.
Oh,
and my arms are tired.
Nice.
Nice. Yes, silence from the whole audience. But at least you laughed. Everyone else is like, "This guy's horrible." I'm gonna go put Tim Ferriss on now. See you, Casey. But all right, so you love travel. So what are some of the places you've been to that you just really would go back to? Like,
Well, it's really cool that you just flew in from Toronto because my favorite, I shouldn't say favorite aunt and uncle in case any of my other aunts and uncles listen to this, but the ones that I'm closest with.
Just send the podcast to your favorites. And then
Okay. They live in Toronto. So,
oh, no kidding. Small world.
Yeah. We, about a year and a half ago, we spent New Year's Eve in Toronto. And so, yeah, I like it. And then I also, my Salesforce AE that I'm connected with, he lives in Toronto. And then a girl that I just met at a product meetup, she's from Toronto. So I just love,
it's a cool city. You know, people compare it to being the New York of the North. And sometimes people can get that New York attitude there, but I've just found really nice people.
I love
the food and the culture, and it's just, and you have the gigantic buildings, but you also have lots of green, way more green. It's not really even comparable to New York's green as you're driving through it. It feels like a suburb with random skyscrapers.
I've never been to New York, so I can't contribute there.
Really? And you haven't been to Boston either, right?
No.
We need to get you some education.
I've been to Maine and New Jersey and Delaware, but yeah, up in
you skipped over the best parts. Where'd you go in Maine?
Portland.
Okay.
My friend is she was a flight attendant, and so she took me with her on a trip. It was like $40 round trip, and she had a 24-hour layover there. So I went with her. It was cool.
24 hours in Portland.
Yep. But my last trip, we went out to see my cousin in Colorado. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, went up to the top of Pikes Peak for the first time, and I really thought that I was going to die.
You mentioned that earlier. I'm glad you brought that up again. Pikes Peak. I haven't been. Is it really as high? How high is this thing? Is it really as high as they say?
Like 14,132 feet or something like that. It's pretty high up there. It's not the tallest mountain, though, in the United States. I think that one is maybe McKinley in Alaska.
Yeah, if you're talking, 14,114.
Something like that,
so
yeah.
Just shy of Mount Rainier. That's cool.
Yeah. But yeah, so we went to visit my cousin. We went up Pikes Peak, and it was so scary because when you get up that
hike up it, or what did you do?
Oh God, no.
We take drove. A car, just drive.
Yeah, it was so cold too. But yeah, so we got out.
So you almost died driving up Pikes Peak? Is it?
I was so scared. I never realized that I was afraid of heights. But I was so fearful that we were going to drive off the edge of the mountain. I'll have to send you some of the pictures.
Yeah.
I was just afraid that we're going to drive off the edge of the mountain for some reason. Fear is irrational.
Oh, I see what you're saying, though. Yeah, for people out there, if you just Google Pikes Peak Road, there's a couple of these where you're like, there's no guardrail.
Yeah, exactly. And then when the closer that you get to the top, the decrease in the amount of oxygen, or I don't know what the deal is, but
14's high.
I had to sit, when we went into the gift shop, I had to sit down because I just about passed out. It was it was a weird experience. It was absolutely beautiful up there, but I'll do it again. I think maybe now that I have had the experience, maybe I won't be as scared, but
14's legit. I can see why. I think people run up that thing too, which is even more crazy.
They have, and I haven't seen, I'm surprised that I haven't looked up any of the videos, but they have races up the mountain.
Oh yeah.
Like vehicles, I think motorcycles too.
Jeez.
And I think there was actually a Fast and the Furious, one of the, 10, that they're racing up Pikes Peak.
Huh.
I could be wrong, but yeah.
All sorts of shenanigans going on that peak.
I just can't even imagine.
That height, so when I did Mount Rainier, I climbed that thing, and that was hard.
I bet.
A couple days, but it got to 14,410, I think, so very close. And you're right. You typically right around 10, things change and get all goofy. And I said earlier, that's high. And some people out there are like, yo, I climbed Mount Everest. That's 29, so it's all relative though, because especially if you came from sea level and you went all the way up, there's no change. You're not even getting used to it. And yeah, right around 10. I don't know if you noted, how long did you stay up there?
We got up to the gift shop and we were there probably just about 15 minutes because I had to get back down.
Yeah, it's interesting. Next time, or should you stay up there longer, you'll find not only is it weird to breathe, sleeping up there can be weird because you wake up going, "Am I breathing enough?" and you're not sure. But also food. I found that my appetite changed as I got to a higher elevation. And
hungrier or
different taste.
Oh,
And one of the things they would tell us is, pack snacks for the climb that you really like. None of this back mountain kitchen dehydrated stuff, especially if you've never tried it before. This is not the time to see if you like it, because they were explaining that when you get to altitude, you're going to get your taste kind of like comes inward and gets very picky. So bring stuff you like. So they kept saying Snickers. And that's like the great American, bring this thing. It's full of sugar, right? Yeah, right? I love their commercials too. But like, bring Snickers and bring stuff. So I brought Snickers, Twix. They even said, bring pizza. So the night before, actually, my mom actually baked a DiGiorno pizza. We cooled it off, put it into individual sandwich bags, and I brought a pizza up Mount Rainier with me. And what was fascinating was that pizza, nom, nom, nom. That was really good. Snickers, I freaking hate Snickers at altitude. I guess I don't choose it in the store now. I really don't like it. I didn't touch them. I basically donated them to my fellow climbers because I just couldn't stand to eat it. But Twix, I loved.
Really?
So it was interesting. You kind of learn more about yourself just by, as you go higher and higher, what am I eating? I even think that happens with airplanes and V8. I think people drink V8 all the time on airplanes because your tastes and things get dry and the salts and stuff. So it happens. People on airplanes are drinking V8 all the time, whereas when they get down to the ground, they're like, man, it's kind of salty. But up at altitude, it was yummy.
I didn't know that. What I did know, Pikes Peak, they in their gift shop they sell donuts. So I guess because of the altitude difference, they're supposed to be like really light and fluffy, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Did you try one?
Supposed to be really good.
Or you were like, get me out of here?
I was thinking survival, and that was it.
Now, I wonder, do the donuts get heavier as you go back down? Do they get lame? You go back down and they get all lame and they crumple up.
I don't know.
Be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, hey, this has been fun. I love the tangents. I could tangent with you all day. Now, if other people want to tangent with you, how can they get in touch? Let's throw out some Twitters, the web address again for Oogur. What's some good contact ways you prefer?
I am on Twitter and LinkedIn. If you want to connect on LinkedIn as well, it's Nicki Laycoax, and it's Laycoax.
Yep.
My Twitter handle is just at Nicki Laycoax, and then Oogur at Oogur was taken. So
who took it?
I don't know.
Sue them.
Maybe when I get big enough.
Take it back. Yeah.
But it's OOGURIT. So
IT. Yeah. Oh, Oogur it.
Oogur it.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. That's really cool.
Have you Oogured that URL?
Yeah. That's really cool. Man, marketing's some people say sales is fun, but marketing's pretty fun too.
It is fun.
Okay, so we'll put those in the show notes. Okay. And man, thank you so much for coming. And
thanks for inviting me.
Gonna check out Oogur. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Any parting shots? Any last moments of wisdom?
I should have planned
for that. Put you on the spot.
No,
no worries.
Oh gosh.
We'll talk more about donuts or something at altitude. That's crazy.
I'm hungry now.
I know. I am too, actually. We got to get out of here. Go get some food. So Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Nicki, and everyone listening. Thank you all. Come to get the show notes. It's hardcoremarketing.com. Core spelled like the Marine Corps, not like the Earth's core. And that's it, everyone. So thanks again. If you like this, then share it with someone that you like. If you didn't like this, share it with someone you don't like. You share this thing.
Just not my my aunts and uncles that I didn't mention.
Just don't share it with Nicki aunts and uncles that she doesn't like. And
No,
that's
I
it.
love them all.
She loves them all. Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. See you on the next one.